Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your host, June Archer. My guest today is currently starring as Eli, the handsome, charismatic vice president of the United States of America in Tyler Perry's hit drama, The Oval. You could catch him in a really dope series that premiered on Hulu, starring Jessica Biel. He is also in Candy, among other things, doing some amazing things. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Russell Thomas to the show. Russell, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm great. It is great to have you. I am excited. Let me ask, firstly, how have you been throughout this pandemic? I know we are looking at brighter days. We've been in it for 2 years, 2 solid years. How have you been through the pandemic, and how were you able to kind of, you know, make your magic happen while we were kind of shut down for a little bit?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that. It's been a tough go. I'll say in the beginning, it was. I- I'll be honest, it was scary. Um,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
my dad has COPD, so he doesn't breathe very well, and I know it's a something that kind of attacks the lungs and breathing. So I was very nervous about that, and so I was very careful with them and making sure that they were being very safe. And also, the industry to a large degree shut down in Los Angeles and really kind of everywhere. And so in the beginning in 2020, when it was first hitting and nobody knew what was going on, um, it was scary. There was no work, there were no auditions, there were no opportunities, and so that beginning portion was really tough. And there were there were some times where I didn't know how to proceed. What I was going to do next, how I was going to keep food on the table and a roof over my head. And then when things started to come back a little bit, we started getting auditions. In some parts of the country, they do the self tape auditions, and that's kind of normal.
right.
But in Los Angeles, that wasn't as common, and so and that transition period when things started to come back, and we started getting the self tape auditions. I really had to retool and learn how to do that stuff so that I could put my best foot forward and get those opportunities. So in the beginning, it was very difficult, but as things started to come back, that at some point, that's when things started to hit for me, and I had a real shift in my career. And so I don't necessarily say it was because of the pandemic, but maybe there was something in there that caused me to focus in a different way and to pursue things a little bit differently, and things started hitting. So at this point in the pandemic, I would say that, like you said, things are starting to look up. Things are starting to look better. The environment on set has definitely changed. So a year ago, uh, everybody was in masks and making sure to social distance, and especially the first season that I was on the Oval, we were in Tyler Perry's full pandemic bubble. And I don't know if you've heard anything about this. It was
Yeah.
a serious, yeah. It was he was one of the first guys to kind of get large scale productions up and running again. And it was a blessing to do that, and it was a blessing for everybody that was working on the shows, because he basically kept Atlanta running. It felt like when I was there, you had the tour buses that would normally be doing tours of Atlanta, doing the shuttling actors and crew around the studio lot and everything. So that was a really cool experience, but also it was sobering to see the kind of things that we had to do just to keep everybody safe. But now the last time I was out there, you still have a lot of those protocols, but it feels good that it's a little bit more relaxed, and you get to see people's faces a little bit more, even though we're still in masks when we're indoors. But you can go outside and get a snack and be like, "Oh, that's what you look like." So things are starting to look up, and that's definitely a much more it's a better experience, and I'm feeling a little bit more hopeful for the future than a couple of years ago when it was looking scary.
No, and I'm happy to hear that. For
Yeah,
those, Russell, who aren't familiar with some of the terms, I want to talk about, you mentioned going from audition to self tape. For those
sure.
who don't know what a self tape is, and you said you had to get familiar with that, get used to that process. What is a self tape for those who don't know what that is?
Sure. So, to I feel like most people would be comfortable with the idea of what an audition is, but you go to the office of a casting director, You have your script that you have to learn your lines from and study and figure out what the scene is about. And you in Los Angeles, you got to drive across town. Usually, it doesn't matter where you live. The auditions are always somewhere else. And you go to the office and you do the audition in person with somebody in their office, and they're recording it there on a camera. Uh, Once they stopped doing that because they didn't want to get everyone together in locations for fear of spreading the virus, you had to do these auditions at home. And so you had to figure out a way, either with the camera on your cell phone, or what I ended up doing is investing a little bit in some nicer camera equipment, because I wanted to be able to present myself in the best light possible. And so I had to learn, techniques of lighting, techniques of audio, in order to make sure that it looked and sounded good. In addition to, doing the same work of learning the scene and learning the lines. So that whole process, you do it at home, and you got to find a room to do it in, and kind of retool your whole, living situation.
Hmm.
And then you have the audition at the end, and you got to send that in. And so it's just this whole different process than what you get used to. And sometimes the change can be a little uncomfortable, and you gotta figure out how to get through that.
And for you, that the first few that you did, uh, do you take a script and do it, or do you come from like, hey, off the top of my head, I'm going to jump into this character and try to put my best foot forward to see if I can really make this self tape,
Right.
what it needs to be in order to get that next callback.
Right. Yeah. So when you did the in-person auditions, a lot of times you would have the script with you in your hand. And it's kind of a trial and error with the self tapes, but I found that if you can be off book, which is the short way of saying not have the script in your hand and have it in your memory, have the lines memorized, that works better in that scenario of the self tape. So you're at home, they know you can do multiple takes, is what we call it, or try multiple times. If you do it 30 times, you're just going to send the best one,
The
kind of
best
thing.
one, right?
Whereas in person, you really got that one shot. So if you have the page with you and you got to look at a line, usually they're okay with that. So it's kind of learning those differences and expectations. But I find that if you have the page with you on the self tape, it may not look as professional than if you have it just from memory.
No, that's dope. 'Cause I find that process to be really, really dope, because it kind of levels a playing field where, for those who might be nervous and going into an audition, it gives them an opportunity to kind of perfect or
Right.
do it as best they can to get
Right.
that one take that will give them that shot. And I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of success stories. So I love talking about that. For you, you've been doing this for some time now, and you are born and raised in Los Angeles, the La La Land, the home of
Yeah.
Hollywood. For you, what was it like growing up in Hollywood? Or I should say Los Angeles, but having access to Hollywood and being in awe for those who've never been and those who have been. When you go there, everything is extravagant, everything is beautiful, but some people don't get to see, you know, maybe the Russell Thomas before he becomes the vice president on BT, working at Mel's Diner, right, on
Yeah.
Hollywood Boulevard. Like, what was it like growing up in Los Angeles and having this dream of becoming an actor?
Yeah. I would say the dream of becoming an actor, I don't even know if I really had that as a kid. I think I just really had a love for films and for good shows. And that's where that kind of came from. Growing up in LA, I can remember seeing movie sets around. I can remember doing a couple little things here and there growing up.
Hmm.
But I honestly would, if you would have asked me at 15 what I wanted to be, I would have said a forest ranger or a firefighter or something crazy like that, right? I didn't. It's kind of beyond my wildest dreams that I have the opportunity to work in this field, because it was something that, until I got my first job at about 25, it wasn't even something. It was something that was like, oh, that's a crazy idea to go and try to pursue a career in acting. You can't make any money in that industry, and so when I got my first job and saw that it's not just the stars that are working, there's so many different uh, job positions in the industry. And so I've actually worked a lot of different jobs in the industry, I've been a stunt performer when I was a much younger man, and so that was really fun. And then worked a bunch of different crew jobs, would actually help me during this self tape process because I'd had experience working with cameras and lights before, so it was something that I could rely on these skill sets that I kind of picked up along the way. And then in terms of coming up as an actor, the side gig, like you're talking about working at Mel's Diner, I was working at different restaurants and doing that whole actor thing. And so that was a fun experience because even though it's a bit of a trope or a stereotype to be the waiter waiting for the audition kind of thing, it also felt like I was part of that journey. And so as
Right,
much as
right,
that's
right.
a challenge, it was also like sort of the rite of passage almost that I went through those tough side gigs and struggled to, make the rent and put food on the tables. That was fun because I
It
knew I was
makes
working toward something.
right. It makes a journey so fulfilling when you get to
Right.
get to this point, and you realize being so appreciative. Everyone doesn't get the opportunity to go through the journey and land a series regular role, right? So for
Yeah.
you, of course, it feels good. I want to talk about because I would be remiss if we didn't share a little piece of the journey. Playing football, UCLA,
Yeah.
winning a championship at Pac-10. Let's talk about this. Before you became the vice president, now
Yeah.
you were out on that gridiron, putting in the work. I want to talk about that experience as a football player and how it relates to your work ethic as an actor.
How it relates to my work ethic as an actor, I think is probably the most important aspect of that part of my life. Uh, I played football at UCLA, and ever since I was a small kid, UCLA was the only place that I ever wanted to go. It was my family always loved UCLA. It actually starts as a quick little story. It was a long time ago. My grandfather, my mom's dad, he was in the hospital, and he had to go on a machine that they were pioneering at UCLA. This was the kidney dialysis machine,
Mhm.
and it saved his life. And so ever since then, my family has always loved UCLA. And so growing up as a kid, that was the only place I wanted to go. And I had the opportunity to walk on there as a football player. I said, yeah, of course, I'll do it. I had a couple offers other places to get full rides. And I said, I would rather go to UCLA and pay than get a full ride somewhere else and have
Wow.
the opportunity to challenge myself against really, really top quality players. And so what I took from that in terms of, going forward in work ethic is that even if you don't get the kind of opportunities or the kind of accolades that you might get if you're one of the star players and your face is on TV on the weekends and you got the clips on ESPN. I never got any of that. I was a walk on. I didn't really get a lot of playing time, but I had to work so hard and I had to learn so much to be able to just to hang in practices. I was on the practice squad, so I was always going up against. I was a receiver. I was always going up against the first string defense, and those guys were tough. And I played with guys at UCLA that went on to play in the league and do big things. And so it taught me how to work,
Mm.
which is a little bit different for me than having the goals and aspirations, but how to push myself and how to make the best of my efforts. And if I think back to who I was as an athlete my freshman year versus who I was as an athlete my senior year is very different. I had picked up so many skills and a very different kind of work ethic and a different feedback mechanism where in high school I would say that maybe I was motivated because I like kind of being the star of the team at that level. At the college level where I wasn't necessarily the star, I had to learn to love the challenge and the work and appreciate the fact that I got to see what I was made of playing against those high caliber players. So yeah, that was that. I look back at those times, even though I don't have any stats or anything like that. It's still, I cherish those memories, and I look at that as a real, uh, the 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 basis for my work ethic today.
No, and I appreciate that. I think sometimes it's not really about the stats. It's about the process. It's about that
Right.
journey. We get caught up in the numbers sometimes, right? Sometimes people say, "Well, what was the box score?" Right? You watch the game, but what's the box score? Like we want to know what at the end of the day, what was that experience like? How did it make you become a better player? How did it make you become a better human being? So I really appreciate that perspective. I
Yeah.
want to talk about this role as Vice President Eli on Tyler Perry's The Oval on BET. Take me back to that moment where you got the call that said, "Hey,
Ooh.
Russell, you know that audition that you had? You got
Yeah.
it. You got the
Yeah.
role." Take me to that moment. How did it feel? And what were you doing in that moment?
So I have a very specific memory of that moment. It's funny. I was actually just telling this story yesterday. I was in the car and I was on my way to the grocery store. And at that time, I had just come off of, I had just auditions come in waves, and sometimes you won't have any for a few weeks, and then you'll get a bunch all at the same time. And this is what had just happened to me. It, it was like, I think something like 15 auditions over the course of 2 weeks, and it was crazy. And I was like, what's going on? I'd never had this many auditions before. And so when my manager called and she's like, you booked the Oval, I was I was literally in shock. I couldn't believe it, and I said, "I did?" And she's talking to me, and it was kinda like that part in the movie where, like, the sound gets all fuzzy and you don't really know what's going on, and I'm driving, and so I'm like, o okay, yeah," and I get off the phone with her, and I keep driving to the grocery store, and I had to I went to the grocery store, and things are kind of floaty, and I happened to run into somebody that I knew, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, "I'm good. How are you?" And I was like, I just booked a TV show." And she didn't even really like know the context of what's going on. I'm just kind of like floating through this experience. And so once I get back into the car, I called my manager back and I was like, "Hey, I am so excited right now. And I feel like I didn't show you how excited I was a second ago." And so I kind of had to like let her know that I was really excited because I felt like maybe I sounded like I was upset and I was just in legit shock. So it was really a standout experience, and it in a way it felt like kind of one of those overnight things because up until this point I'd had a lot of little successes here and there. I got a little commercial here. I got a little line in this show over there, and this was really the first time that I got a really big role. And it one night I went to bed and I was an aspiring actor, and the next day I went to bed and I was like, I got a job, I got work, let's go. And so that was really cool. The the sort of the next moment was I had the dog that caught the car fear. And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. I got I got a whole show. I got a whole character. I got to figure this out." And
It's time to
it
get
was
to
actually
work.
yeah, it was quick. The script started coming in, and I had to start learning my lines and getting organized and figuring this all out. And this was again the middle of the pandemic. There were no vaccines yet, so it was go over here, get tested, get ready. We're gonna go to Atlanta and do the whole quarantine thing. So it was a big time. It was a lot of changes in my life, and it I these are there's like one of those days that you will never forget kind of thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. How was it
Yeah.
like working with Tyler Perry? I've heard so many great stories, but I love asking those who have
Sure.
worked with him.
Yeah.
What is it like working with him? What is his work ethic, and what have you taken from his perspective in terms of putting in the work and being creative and being the best at what you can be?
Huh. I still can't quite find the right way to describe Tyler Perry other than I am not convinced that he is not twins or quintuplets or something like this. I He is everywhere. I have never met somebody with more energy and more focus and more drive. The way that the sets are run are very efficient. We get a lot of work done, and it's something that I haven't seen recreated in any other kind of production situation. And you really get the sense that Tyler Perry is the locomotive in that equation, where once he shows up on set, things just get moving. and he has this energy to him, and he has this look on his face, and you know he means business. And you get, and he's there every day, and I see, he's making sure things are running. Like you go from one set to the other set, and he's like, I'm ready to shoot. And it's like, we just got here, like you're already ready to go. Like, and so the whole production just gets whipped up, and we're moving, and the crew are also talented, and they work so hard, and all of us castmates are there. If we're not up in the scene right now, we're back over here running our lines for our next scene, and everyone is just pulling together, and it is a beautiful experience. And what I love is the collaboration. This is what drives me in all the different aspects of my life. I love that cooperation and collaboration, and that's what we have so much of on this show. And when you show up on set, the way that there, I don't know if you know this or not, but the show is called The Oval, and it's set in the White House. He
Right.
has a full replica White House on his studios in Atlanta, and that blew my mind. We're driving, I'm going to set on the first day, and I'm like, that's a White House. And you go inside, and it's not just the facade; all the interior is usable, and that really that puts your mind, in focus when you
Wow.
see a set like that, and it really helps to get you in the moment, and to really bring your best to the performance. It's The whole experience is amazing, and I really got to credit Tyler Perry for that. It's a beautiful experience.
Now you get this call. You're
Yeah,
working with Tyler Perry. If it just couldn't get any better, you have the opportunity to work alongside Jessica Biel
yeah,
and Hulu's Candy as well.
yeah.
How was that experience, and what did you take from Jessica being on set, or just being in the, whether it was a table reading, whether it was on set? Because once again, these are people who've been doing it at a very high level, and just to be in their presence, to be in the environment, is an amazing feeling. But you are there, like you just came from being a working actor to now, well, I should say, doing whatever you were doing before,
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
that call, and now you're in it. You're 2 feet in it,
yeah.
waist deep, and now you're working with Tyler, and now Candy on Hulu. Like, how did that feel?
That was also a very beautiful experience. It was, Jessica Biel has been doing this for a long time. I still remember back in the seven heaven day, and having a little crush on her when I was a young man. And so if I went back in time and told my younger version, hey, you're gonna work with Jessica Biel one day, oh, that would have made my day.
You would have passed out. You would have
Yeah, that
passed
would
out.
have been done. So sort of suppressing that. I don't want to just get all cheesy in front of her. She was so approachable and so gracious. Sometimes you hear horror stories of the stars kind of being, separate and not part of the community. I haven't really experienced that personally with anybody that I've worked with, but just to see how down to earth and sweet she was, that always makes it a much more fun experience and rewarding experience. The kind of professionalism that everybody in the cast had, everybody in the crew had. Sometimes there's a temptation when the camera's not on you, but you're doing the take for the other actor, that maybe you're not given as much. Every take, whether the camera was on her or off her, she's given it all, and you could see that shows up in the performances for everyone else, and that always is beautiful to see. And so watching that, me on the come up, and seeing somebody that's been there for that long and still have that kind of drive and professionalism, and that dedication at that point in her career, to me was inspiring. And to say, okay, this is a way of working, a part of the journey to aspire to, that maybe 20-30 years down the line, that I would still have that kind of drive and that discipline to keep working hard and bringing it every day. And the kind of stuff that she had to do on that show, it's challenging, and it can take it out of you. And so she has that endurance, that creativity, that talent, and really just a beautiful person. So that was
No,
a fun experience. Yeah.
she's amazing. But I had to tell you, Russell, if we were grade school kids and we both had a crush on Jessica Biel, I'm no bully. I'm no bully, but I will push you down in the sandbox. Let Justin, Mr. Justin Timberlake, be Russell and I have a crush on Jessica. So best believe I will push him down
Yeah,
in the sandbox for
yeah,
Jessica Biel.
yeah, yeah,
You had Jane the Virgin, New Girl, The Mentalist, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff with Heather Locklear. I,
yeah.
I bring this up because a lot of people get one shot, Russell. You have multiple opportunities to be with great people. This is amazing. I want to ask you, I just wanted to share that piece, but for you, you mentioned so many pivotal people, your grandfather,
Mhm.
your dad, um, Tyler Perry. What has been the best advice you've been given to overcome obstacles as you've been on this journey to become the actor that you are today?
Yeah. That's a good one. Let me think. There's a quote that I hear. You know, you get the little clips a lot of times on social media and stuff like that. And there's a good one from Denzel, and he talks about don't confuse activity with progress or
Mm,
motion with progress. I forget the precise word that he used. And for me, that's always been like that's something that I had thought of, but I never put in those terms until I heard that, and that really resonated with me because you can do a lot of stuff, and you need to know that the things that you're doing are actually pushing you toward that goal. And what it what it makes me think of is the honest self-awareness that you need to be able to take inventory of the efforts that you're putting in and knowing is this helping me or is this pulling me in a different direction. And for me, that was when I heard that quote, I was like, yeah, that's the one for me. I like that. And so that's the one that I kind of take with me, you know, not confusing motion with progress. I love the way that sounds, and it really resonates for me.
no, I love that. I'm gonna take that one, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
credit you. I love, when people ask, hey, how are you doing? Hey, things are busy, and I always say busy is good, but productive is even better.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I love that piece. I hope that people take that and use that. Uh, Russell, I've been playing this game called University of Dope with a lot of friends, and I want to play with the Vice President of the United States, Vice President Eli, and we're gonna play the R&B version. For
All
those
right.
who have seen me play the game with multiple celebrities, this is the R&B version of University of Dope. Unpopular opinions are welcome. It is just fun. So, Vice
Gotcha.
President Eli, if you will,
Yes.
pick one artist to bring back for a one night only concert. Would it be A, Luther Vandross, B, Whitney Houston, C, Prince, or D, Michael Jackson?
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna have to go with Prince on that one. I'm gonna have to go with Prince. He got so much skill, so much range. I'm gonna bring Prince back.
All right, all right. Which artists would you have sing at your funeral? A, Fantasia, B, Jennifer Hudson, C, Jasmine Sullivan, or D, Faith Evans?
I'm gonna go with Jennifer Hudson on that one. Yeah.
All right. Jennifer brings it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had to erase one group from R&B history, who would it be? A, 112, B, Jodeci, C, Drew Hill, or D, Jagged Edge?
Mm, that's tough. I'm gonna go 112.
112. If you had to erase one from R&B history, who would it be, Vice President? A,
Oh.
Janet Jackson, B, Beyonce, C, Mariah Carey, or D, Whitney Houston?
Well, I can't do Mariah Carey because that's gonna ruin Christmas for everybody. So I don't know. I don't know. Ah. Whew.
These are the tough decisions that the Vice President has to
Yeah.
endure while in office.
I don't want these kind of responsibilities as vice president. Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble with this one. Let's see. Hmm. Ooh, this is really tough. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. Ah,
You got to talk it out like you're
yeah,
campaigning, Vice
I can't
President.
even. I can't even. I just have to just choose one. It's all terrible. Beyonce, I guess. I don't know. I love Beyonce. I
Get
can't.
rid of
I'm
Queen
sorry.
Bee. Wow. The VP gets rid of
Woo,
Queen Bee.
woo.
Erase one from R&B history. A, Chris Brown. B, Neo. C, Justin Timberlake, or D, Usher? If
Ooh.
I know, like I know, and we just talked about Jennifer Biel, this might be a layup, but I'm gonna leave it up to you.
Yeah, it might have to be Justin Timberlake just just for that.
All right, Vice President.
Yes.
In the event that there's a scandal in
Uh-oh.
the White House, this may be something you can answer. The best side chick anthem
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
following: is it A,
Ooh.
You're the One, SWV; B, As We Lay by Kelly Price; C, My Little Secret Escape; or D, The Weekend by SZA?
I'm gonna have to go with My Little Secret. Yeah, there's a lot of secrets and a lot of scandals going on in the White House, so that one's gonna work for me.
Choose the best non-singing singer from the following. The best non-singing singer. Is it A, Keith Sweat; B, Alicia Off Keys; C, Slim from 112; or D, Jennifer Lopez / Ashanti?
I'm gonna go with Alicia Keys on that one.
Alicia Off Keys.
Yeah.
Which or who would you have sing at the cookout? A, John B. B, Pink when she was black; C, Adele; or D, Justin Bieber?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Adele on this one. She can sing, she can bring it, so I'm gonna have her at the cookout for sure.
Yeah, she's gonna have you coming over to the other side.
Yeah.
Best song you should not have been singing as a child. A, Freak Like Me, Adina
Mhm.
Howard;
All right.
B, I Want to Sex You Up, Color Me Bad; C, Too Close next; or D, Freaking You by Jodeci?
That's too funny. I don't. Okay, so when I was in fourth grade, I had a crush on this girl, and she had a crush on me. And this is before cell phones and all that, so you had to actually like call on the landline and everything. And she called me, and she put on B. I want to sex you up, and I was so nervous around girls. We're talking about was I'm still nervous around girls, but back then I could barely talk to girls, and she put that on. I didn't even know what it meant, but that's the one I probably should not have been singing as a kid.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. The best baby making song from
Ooh.
the following. Is it A, So Anxious, Genuine; B, When We by Tank; C, Say Yes, Floetry; or D, Meeting in My Bedroom by Silk?
I'm gonna go with Flowetry on that one. Say yes.
All right. And last one, VP. Best R&B soundtrack from the following. Is it A, Waiting to Exhale; B, Soul Food; C, Love Jones; or D, The Bodyguard?
I'm gonna hit D, the bodyguard. There's just that one Whitney Hope, that one note that she hits. That's enough
It
for me.
just
It's hard to beat.
Russell, thank you for playing University of Dope. It's
Yeah.
all fun. Unpopular opinions are welcome. We love all the artists that are in there.
Yeah.
Russell, let me ask you, at home or out, like, what is your favorite meal to eat? What is your favorite meal to cook?
Sure. I would say maybe these are different ones because I might like something that I may not like to cook. So if we go specifically, what's my favorite meal to eat? Usually when I'm on the road and I come home, the first thing that I want to do is go get some tacos. Like Los Angeles has great Mexican food, and a lot of times when I'm out, in the East Coast or something like that, it can be harder to find a good taco or something like that. So I come home, I go see my folks, and we'll go out to have a nice Mexican dinner. So anything in that area, tacos, flautas, burritos, all that stuff is great for me. But sometimes it's hard to cook that because you got to go to the right store to get the right tortillas and all this sort of thing. So for me, if I'm at home cooking, usually it's like potatoes, veggies, and salmon, and keep it all nice and clean. And I can whip that up real fast. I throw the veggies and potatoes in the oven, hit the salmon on the grill, or saute it real quick. And so I got a whole little routine. I can whip that up quick. So those would be how I'd answer those two separate questions.
What is your favorite restaurant?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I have, let's see. I do have a sense of connection to the restaurant that I worked at for a long time. So that's in Los Angeles, it's STK. And so it's a nice steakhouse. They got some, all over in New York and Florida. So it's a really nice steakhouse chain. And actually, this kind of funny little side note: when I worked at STK, Tyler Perry would come into the restaurant, and so
Wow.
I had already had connection. I was like, someday I'm gonna work for that guy. And so there's a whole, connection of memory and nostalgia set up with STK. So that, yeah, it's gonna be STK.
There's a great debate on steak. How do you like your steak prepared, Russell?
For me personally, I like medium rare. I like it to be, a nice pink on the inside, but still have enough, char on the outside. Rares, it feels like it's not cooked enough for me. And once you get past medium, I start to lose some of that juiciness. So I'm going in for medium rare.
All right.
Yeah.
Music is a soundtrack to our lives.
Mhm.
For you, Russell, what song best represents your journey up to this point, or which artist embodies your journey up to this point?
Yeah. I I would say, you know, obviously I like how you said that music is the soundtrack to our lives. And, depending on what I'm doing, there might be a couple different songs. But I would say recently, if I had to pick one song, it'd be Dedication by Nipsey Hussle. And that one,
Mm.
there's a couple things he talks about in there, and he says, uh, when opportunity meets preparation. And for me, those two things, that's a story for me. I had to, it was a long journey to get prepared. And if I had been given these opportunities before I had that preparation, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So for me, that was an important message. And he talks about hard work and dedication. So that's, yeah.
I just started the June Archer School of Arts, where we teach kids about DJing, graphic design, filmmaking, photography, songwriting. For you, as a young man, we talk about your journey before becoming an actor, growing up in Los Angeles. Why is it important that we encourage, motivate, and inspire our young people to get involved in the performing and creative arts?
Yeah. Uh, for me, what 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 drives me uh, isn't that I want to be on camera or I want to be the center of attention. What drives me is that I love story, and I love contributing to the tradition of storytelling, and I tap into something that's a lot bigger than I am, and that really spans human history, right? So I imagine that humans have been doing this for thousands of years. You go back to the days when we're running around in the jungle and savannah, and you'd gather around the fire and you tell stories. And so for me, this is the extension of that tradition of storytelling that's been going on throughout our entire history. And so that is the basis of our knowledge, the basis of our culture. And it's important that we continue to pass that along to younger generations. And so if we fail to educate and teach our younger kids, I feel like we lose a part of our humanity and what makes us special. And so I think that is very important. And it, maybe it's not, part of humanity is that everyone has their sort of different skill set, and you need people that are uh, working on, building things, and people that are working on growing things, and the people that are there to help tell the stories, they're there to service everyone else. They're there to bring everyone together into a common space that we can deal with things that are going on. And I feel like story is part of the process that we deal with those things in community.
Russell, you said it very well, well stated. Uh, Thank you,
Yeah.
brother. I appreciate all the gems. I might call you a gemologist after this interview. So many things. Uh, when you talked about motion and not getting that confused,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
talk about putting in the work, being in the environment and soaking that up, and learning from those who have done it before you, and who do it at a high level.
Yeah.
Uh, Taking our journey and appreciating it, and understanding those road signs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You talked about your grandfather in UCLA. You talked about playing at UCLA and what that meant to your family and being in a restaurant and crossing paths with Tyler Perry, only to say to yourself, I'm going to work with him one day,
Yeah.
to being able to work with him
Yeah.
today. Russell, we love you. We appreciate you. Congratulations on all of your success. We
Yeah.
look forward to more. We look forward to the next season and the season after that. We look forward to 5 to 6
Yep.
consecutive
Yep.
amazing, successful seasons, because we know what
Yeah.
that means at
Yeah.
the end of those 5 for that 500th episode.
That's
We know
right.
what that means. More
That's
money,
right.
more money, more money. So, Russell, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? And how can we support you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram. That's Russell Thomas on IG. And then obviously on BET for The Oval and a little bit on Candy on Hulu and a couple little shows here and there. But yeah, BET, The Oval on BET. Tyler Perry's The Oval. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Russell Thomas, your vice president on The Oval. Vice President Eli. I'm
Yep.
your host, June Archer. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like it, love it, share it. And as I always say at the end of each show, be sure to tell someone you love them, and maybe the
Mm,
last opportunity you have to do so. They
mm.
say that life is short. It is only getting shorter. But we are here today to appreciate these moments and enjoy life to the
Yeah,
best of
that's
our
right.
ability. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless y'all. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you.